All right, great. So yeah, now it is noon. So yeah, of course, this is a webinar from the Dyslexia Association of London, and we are partnering with Louise Simpson, who is a professional organizer as well as a life coach. This webinar will be available on demand after, so you are going to be able to rewatch it on our website. Also, we're going to keep the question and answer box. It should be available now. Like you can ask questions in the chat box and also in the question and answer section. So feel free while Louise is presenting to type in and ask any questions that may come up. And also we have dedicated at the end of this webinar some time for questions and answers directly with Louise. And as I'm sure she'll mention, she does have a little freebie for you all after if you're interested in learning more and possibly working with her directly. So Louise, I will let you take over. I'll be here managing the chat box and the question answer box. I'm just going to turn off my camera so it has all the attention on you.
Thank you very much. As my video, can you see me? It's telling me my camera has just gone off, just to add some fun into the...
Yeah, I think it did just switch off. Let me make you make host. I'll change you to host. Will that do anything? Oh, there it goes.
No. Well, we're going to share the screen anyway, so let's just... It's not
Oh, perfect.
There we go. Hello, everybody. Just to, perfect example of it doesn't matter how organized you think you are, something may happen and you just have to roll with it. So thank you for inviting me along, Grace. And as she said, any questions, pop them into the chat. If anything, as we're going along, seems like it's relevant that we cover it there, and then we will try to do that, but it's probably easier if we leave the questions to the end. So today, we are talking about how organizing your life will improve your well-being. Now, it's a big topic and we've got an hour, so apologies if it feels like I'm going to rush through some things, but as Grace has said, this will be available on demand, so feel free to sort of go back to it and we can cover anything in questions as well. So this is something I was talking to Grace about just before we were starting, and this is one of my favorite quotes. So Grace asked me if there's anybody kind of I really admire, and I think for me it's this quote about the fact that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world of thoughts and feelings. So I don't know about you, but on the days where I wake up and I might feel a bit grumpy or a bit tired, it just seems like everything that happens just seems to make it worse. So you might get stuck in traffic, or something happens with your diary, you're double booked. And often that is because it's reflecting how we're feeling. So the more that we can improve our space and how we use our time, the better that we will actually feel. So just think about that, and think about the next time you're having a bad day, like what's actually going on for me. And I think, one of the big things that I've already apologized to Grace that I'll probably repeat as I go through, that whilst we're talking today, obviously for you've signed up through the Dyslexia Association of London, I don't see people as somebody that is dyslexic or somebody that has ADHD or a label. When I talk to people, because often people will phone me and say, do you work with people with ADHD? Like, is that okay? Actually, it's just about how it affects you and how you want to feel. So that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to start with some generic information. But just a little bit about me. So I spent 23 years working in financial services. I was one of those weird people that I don't think exist anymore, that were a job for life person. I started straight from school and did my degree whilst working. And then in 2016, basically had a massive health crisis and decided to leave the corporate career, and really just spent time getting better, but thinking about, well, what is it that I love and what is it I really want to do? And I'd thought about doing this for years, but didn't really think that, somebody that had been employed for 23 years could actually go out and become a business owner. And the last 6 years on Monday is my business birthday, I've been helping hundreds and hundreds of clients across the UK on Zoom and in home in Essex basically feel better and more organised. I'm a member of the Professional Association of Declutterers, who have actually been in the UK for 20 years. And Grace and I were saying that, in America, people kind of book their organizer in like they book their hairdresser and their personal trainer, whereas we've still got a little bit of a way to go with this in the UK, and people don't really understand what it is or how it can help. And most people that I work with say they wish they'd found me kind of a year or two ago. I'm also a single mum of 2 children. So organisation through all of these challenges and transitions has been the thing that has kept me going and enabled me to thrive and become the person that I am today. So these are some of the ways that I help people with organisation. So there's bereavement and going through loved ones, setting goals, moving house, playrooms, whatever you can think. If you've ever seen Stacey Solomon's Sort Your Life Out, basically that is me. And one of the things that I love about what I do is every single day is different. So I can be working with a small business owner, helping people set kind of goals around development or careers, as well as helping people clear that room of doom that they can't actually get into. So there are many ways, but underpinning it all is about getting your life more organized so that you have more time for the things that matter to you. Clutter is subjective. So often people will say, is this the worst room that you've seen, or is this the worst house, or is this, this amount of paperwork, is that the worst? And actually, again, it isn't about how much you have, it's about how you feel about it. You can have the same room, and actually some people would think, oh my goodness, why have you got so many books? Definitely books if they looked at my bookshelf. I'm a knowledge geek. But another person would walk in like me and go, oh my God, this is amazing. You've got so many books. It's really interesting. What have you got on that shelf? So this is something that I use with clients when I first sit down with them to understand what is going on in their home. If we're focusing on home organisation, and we look at each room, and as you can see the example that's coloured in, we're kind of doing a 0 to 10. And again, we're not aiming for perfection. We're just trying to understand, like, how does that room make you feel at the moment? So not about what you think that room should look like because you've seen things on Instagram or on TV programs, or your friends shared a picture. How does it make you feel? So 0 being normally the room of doom. I don't want to open it. I don't want anybody to go in there. It just stresses me out even thinking about it. And 10 being it's exactly how I want it to be. Now, 10 is a bit of a nirvana. Again, it's that striving for perfection. What we really want is that balance. So actually that we're not having, a couple of rooms that are right at 0 and others that are at 10, but we're getting more balance. And as with anything in life, I think, balance is often kind of bandied around as, you need to strive for balance, but what does that look like? And I think balance is very different for different people. So that's why we focus on how it's affecting you, rather than some people, when I go in, will say, so what do you think? Is this a 5 or a 6? And it's like, it doesn't matter what I think, it's about how it's affecting you. And you can use this in your life too. So when we're looking more at kind of goal setting or planning with regards to kind of the life side of organisation, you can use something like this. So you may have seen things like this before, called the Wheel of Life. And again, you can kind of choose your categories that you want to focus on, but understanding where you are now and how you want to feel differently. And again, it's not about, often what I see is either home is much higher, but the career or the aspirations with regards to what somebody might want to be doing, like setting up their own business, is lower, or the other way around, where career is really high, but home and relationships is really low. And what we want to strive for really is to get that balance and have more of, actually, like, I can enjoy and have a successful career, but I can still have healthy relationships and be healthy. So home and organisation. And this is something that I think is really important, that home should be our safe place. It's that place to go to when you've had a bad day at work and the meeting went really badly, or you've had an argument with your friend or partner, and you just want to retreat and a place to be yourself and recharge. So do you feel at home in your home? Ask yourself that question. You can use the, by room, but just generally, do you feel at home? Does it give you that physiological sense of, oh, thank goodness I'm home? I've had clients that, I don't know, like if there's parents amongst us that are watching this, that when their children were little, you'd sit in the car for kind of 10 minutes or so because they'd fallen asleep and you didn't want to wake them up. I have clients that have done that because they know what's waiting for them in the house. And it's that sense of dread and despair of, oh, I just know there's going to be stuff everywhere and I've got to sort it out. And actually, I can't even bypass it and just get into the kitchen and go and have a coffee to then kind of get myself ready. It's that I don't want to be at home. Like, I'll do anything to avoid being at home. So really just think about, do you feel at home? And then you can break that down. You don't have to use that diagram, but kind of break it down by room of like, well, which parts of the home do I feel more able to be myself and relax and feel happy? Which parts are stressing me out? And it might be, if you work from home, that your working from home station is in your kitchen or your living room if you don't have space for another office, or it could be your home office is just, it just feels claustrophobic. And be aware of what you tell yourself. So most people I speak to say, but I should be able to do this. Like, I look at pictures on Instagram and like all these houses are just perfect. And all my friends are, they're managing to juggle work and everything else. And another phrase that I often use with clients is done is better than perfect. And as a recovering perfectionist, I have to tell myself this too. So only because I work as an organizational coach, I have to remind myself and put all these things in place too. But, really just being aware of, if you're telling yourself should, that probably means that that isn't something that is aligned with what you want to be doing or genuine for you. It's because you feel that that's imposed on you. And obviously there will be things that you have to do for work or, organizing appointments for children or for yourself. But start to look at where those shoulds are coming up, or where you're telling yourself that that's not good enough or that's got to be perfect, and understanding where that's coming from. And just remind yourself, I have physically told myself done is better than perfect. One, when I was doing this presentation for today, there were so many things that I was thinking, oh, I could add that in and I really want to include that. And then I had to go, do you know what? Done is better than perfect. It will cover the main things that we need to. We're going to have time for questions. I need to just stop, because otherwise I'm just giving more time than what is needed to do this. And actually, it's more important that we have time for the questions at the end, so that, you guys can actually ask things. And this is the big one coming up next. There was research done around that sense of home and how people feel and the impact on their well-being. And that showed that when you have a sense of home, it improves your well-being. So the people that replied to this, which was around 1,100 people that took part in this research, that your well-being improves by 25%. Now, I don't know about you, but actually I would take feeling 25% better any day of the week, whether it's a bad day or a good day. Like, just add on the 25% for me, because, if I can feel any bit better on any day, yes, please, can I have that? But a massive 25%. And often our home is the place that gets forgotten. So, we're dashing everywhere, looking after children or going to work and trying to fit everything in and socializing. And then we go home and stuff just gets dumped in the corner, but we don't realize how much that is building up or how much that is having an impact on our well-being. And, I see it when clients take me through their homes or talk about getting, their diaries or time more organized, that you can almost hear that kind of frustration in the throat, and they'll talk about, oh, I just always have like a tense stomach and my shoulders, and this is the way that you can see that impact. And when people walk me around their house, you can literally see kind of their body and their posture change when they go past that room of doom or the drawer of doom in the kitchen that most people have. So really don't, I guess the message, what I'm trying to say is, don't think that actually organization is like a added benefit. Actually, it's a really important thing that underpins and can really make you feel better, make you feel more resilient, more able to deal with whatever life is going to throw at you, and give you time to really focus on the stuff that matters to you, rather than getting, as I say, like with doing this presentation, I could have spent hours just adding different bits and little graphics or whatever else. But actually, the main thing that I want to get across is what I'm saying to you, as opposed to what is on the slides. So I want to talk about visual noise. So we all know about like actual noise, and you may know that your partner or your mum, they always have the TV on, and they've got a couple of dogs, and the radio will be on in the kitchen, just as they go from room to room. And you might think, oh my goodness, like when you walk in, you might go, why have you got the radio on, mum? Like you've got the TV on in the living room, and you've got the radio on in the kitchen. Like it's just too much. The same applies with visual noise. Visual noise is basically any kind of random stimuli that we look at. So in the same way that with sound, our ears take it in and have to work out what that's telling us, and is it too loud, or do I need to listen to this? That applies to visual noise too. So our eyes take it in, and our brain has to work out, what is this that I need to do? So when you're in your home, as an example, if you've got stuff piled up in the corner or in your bedroom, so the very well-known chair robe or floor robe, where the clothes have been taken out of the wardrobe and just kind of left on the side, your brain has to take all of that in and work out, okay, so can I walk past that? Is that going to fall over if I put something on top of it? To the extreme of where people have, maybe boxes piled up in a corner of a room, that again, your brain is trying to work out, as well as the emotional triggers that come up with that of, I should be able to do this. Other people manage it. Like, why can't I do this? Now, the important thing is with visual noise is the reason that we want to concentrate on it and how organization can help is it affects things that we may already find a challenge. So it affects our concentration. It slows our ability to learn. It makes it harder to communicate. And it contributes to fatigue. Because we're, if you think of our brains as a computer, it's like that file that, or the app that keeps on running in the background and is just draining and using a bit of energy up. And so the more that we can get that noise level to a level that is acceptable for us. Now, the big challenge here, if you live with other people, different people have different levels of visual noise that they can cope with, in the same way that they have different levels of actual noise that they can cope with. So you may be somebody that actually needs your kind of visual noise level to be quite low. So you need everything to be kind of behind closed doors, not out visibly. That visual clutter is quite, it really impacts on you. Whereas your partner may be somebody that's like, it's fine. Like, what are you worried about? It's not your stuff. Don't worry. Like, it's fine. I know where everything is. Like, I just move that out and I can get that underneath. And they may be more like an 8 or a 9. And that's where often, people will say to me, oh, I'm really glad you're sorting my stuff out, but I really need you to come and sort my husband out, because he just drives me mad, or, the children's room or whatever. And, with this, as with, actual noise as well, it often comes down to about communication and compromise. So can you look at, for example, in areas of the home that you share with other people, agree a kind of level that is acceptable to everybody. So everybody's compromising a little bit. So you're coming up from your 2 to maybe a 4 or a 5, and the other people that are in your home that are higher are maybe coming down from an 8 to a 4 or a 5. And, you know, as with anything, communication is so important around this sort of thing, because actually you can, you know, as we've talked about, it can really impact on your well-being and your stress levels and all of these things. But it's about how you communicate that. And it is a case of compromise, but maybe your wardrobe can be at that too, because that's how, you know, that's your space. But compromising with other people, that their space can be at their volume. And often that's where it helps to have wardrobes that are, you know, you can shut the door, or cupboards or storage boxes that aren't as clear, because then at least you can't see it. But, you know, that is, but, you know, think about the visual noise that is around you. And this doesn't just apply to your home. This can apply to things like your desk at work, you know, your space that you're working in. Do you find that you're easily distracted? Or, you know, any of these things that, you know, with concentration, and just think about, well, what visual noise am I getting here? You know, and it might be something that is out of your control, that your office has really bright lights that you don't like, or they've, you know, got a coffee machine near your desk. But actually, what can you control within the space that you have, and thinking about how to use that space better. And we'll cover some of those tips as we go through into the kind of organizing tips later. But I really just wanted to kind of bring this to your mind, because again, the same as with kind of organization and well-being, people don't really think about this stuff, like, until you actually mention it and they go, oh yeah, like my husband's definitely an 8, and I'm so like a 1 or a 2, and if I'm really tired, like, it gets worse, or, you know, actually it goes up. So starting to understand how these things affect you, and then putting things in place that can actually help make that change. So some examples of what might be a higher visual noise. So the toys one on that side, you know, the before, my client was like, well, it's not even a 10. It's like a 20 out of 10. Like, it's just horrific. And, you know, it was to the point that they had this beautiful playroom and they never used it. The door stayed shut. Nobody went in there. It was literally like, open the door, chuck something in there. And what we did is look at making it so the children can easily access what they need, and turning that volume down so that mum would go in there too, but equally for the children, because, you know, actually that was overwhelming them as well as it was the parents. And then the office one was somebody, a small business owner that I worked with, that was saying, I just, you know, I don't know whether I decided that actually I'm doing the wrong thing and I need to completely change my business. Don't really feel motivated to do anything, and I'm just avoiding going into my home office. And what we did there is actually look at, you know, and talk about the type of business, the type of person that they were, how they wanted to operate. And one of the things that this person had, you know, as soon as I walked into the rest of the home, there were plants and nature and everything everywhere. Yet she had her desk facing a wall. Yes, you could see, you know, the door and the kind of balcony on the right hand side, but actually she was kind of facing the wall, and that's how she felt in her business. And actually what we did is start to look at how we could open up that space for her. So we turned the desk around facing nature, where all the plants were outside, making all of her files really easily accessible, and turning that noise down for her. And, you know, again, after this, she was like, I feel like I've got a new business. Like, I feel so motivated. It's kind of literally, she could feel her kind of creativity opening back up again. Whereas before, that noise was so loud that it was just kind of sucking away at that creativity and the energy levels. So really, you know, you might look at either of those pictures, even the before in the office, and go, well, I wish my office looked like that, or my desk at work looked like that. But it's about how it affects you, not about, well, this is what it's supposed to look like. Even with the playroom, it doesn't have to look like that, but actually if that needs to be that level of visual noise and to help you function, that's what we look at. So we've talked about visual noise, and obviously that is a big benefit of getting your life more organized. And again, this isn't just about the home stuff. This is about, planning your diary, the things that you say yes to, or, say yes to when you really want to say no, or the boundaries that you have in place with regards to how you organize your day, who has ability to book things in your diary versus, you having control of your diary. Some of the other benefits, obviously, you can relax more. When you go home or at your office desk even, you're able to relax more because you're not stressing about, oh, what's that pile over there? Or is that going to fall over? You can just feel more comfortable. You can invite people into your home rather than feeling like, well, better not invite Sally over because what will she think about this space? Just feel better. So again, I'm not going to go on about that again, other than to say, remember the 25%. It's going to make you feel less stressed and more resilient. And I think resilience is the big thing, because stress is always going to come our way. There's always going to be things that come to challenge us. But having that sense of resilience and being able to just go, okay, like at the start of this presentation, it would have been really easy for me to get really super stressed and go, oh my goodness, like this isn't perfect, like that my video's gone off, what on earth's going on? But it enables you to go, okay, no, look, I know what I need to do, stay resilient, stay calm, and deal with those things that life likes to throw at you. It's going to save you time. You're not going to be looking for things that you can't find. You're not going to be booking things in your diary that are taking more time, or, thinking about where you need to be and booking things in a way that you're making better use of your time. And it's going to save you money. So things like buying things that you've already got because you can't find them, or buying things that, like, oh, well, actually, I'll just get that because that will solve my problem. And actually, it's not, often people say, what storage do I need to buy? Should I buy, even from a desk perspective, shall I buy this or, whatever? And actually, as organizers, we always talk about it, kind of reverse the process. Often people start with storage. I'm going to buy this filing cabinet, or I'm going to buy these plastic files, or I'm going to buy this toy storage thing because that will solve my problems. We flip it on its head and start with what is it that you need in the first place? How much of it do you need? And then let's start to organize that. So thinking about keeping things like with like and putting into categories. So whether that is, paperwork or digital files, but equally for things like if you're selling your house, by presenting your home for the photos and when people come to view in a more organized manner, you're likely to sell your house quicker because people can see that, there is a place for things. Whereas if, I don't know if you've ever viewed a house, but, you want to open every cupboard and kind of see what storage there is and like what space there is. And also probably be a bit nosy about, oh, I wonder what they've got in there, like that under kind of, stair cupboard or something. Let's see what's in there. If that is overflowing, or there's stuff all on the stairs and in the hallway or on the kitchen island piled up high, what that tells to buyers is that there isn't enough space in this house. So for things like selling your house, you can equally make more money. So I'm just going to take a breath. We're going to go into some of the top tips. Now, again, this was something I was like, oh, I could literally list, like there's so many things. I've tried to narrow it down a little bit. And obviously, as we get into questions, then we can, talk about any specific challenges or questions that anybody has. But as I've said, with organising, there are so many different aspects of different rooms, different ways to do it, whether you're looking at time or productivity. So I'm going to cover some of the more specific ones that I feel like are relevant, but I want to allow plenty of time for discussion and questions at the end. So we'll go through these and then obviously cover anything else at the end. So back to the, like, how do you want to feel? Have a vision for how you want your home or your time to work for you and how you feel. So it might be that you're like, well, actually, I wish that I had time to take a lunch break at work, or I wish I had time to do this course to retrain or level up for promotion at work, but I just don't seem to ever find time. And then, that's then looking at, how you're using your current time and helping have that goal and that intention that that's somewhere that you want to get to. And I want, your what and why is another way of putting it. Like, what is it that you want and why? Like, how will you feel when you get it? Because as with anything around goal setting or, bringing, achieving success or things in your life, you'll often hear people talking about that bringing your feelings in it is how you kind of stay linked and motivated to achieve it. So really think and get clear for you, what is it that you want for your home or your time, but how will you feel? And then put the steps in, then it's then breaking it down and looking at, the different actions that are needed to help you get there. So you'll have this kind of overall vision and then breaking that down and putting steps in place. Keep like with like and give items a home. This is physical and digital, oh, I need some, it might be that somebody in your home says to you, oh, I need a battery for this, or, you need a particular jacket for an interview, or you need to find that certificate from a course that you did. All of these things are examples of where time can get lost and stress levels can rise because you're like, oh, I don't know, I put it somewhere, like it should be in there. For example, for the wardrobe, it might be then everything starts to get pulled out because you're like, I've got to get to this interview and I really wanted to wear that jacket, or like, I've got to find this certificate because I need that to apply for, something else. And the more that things have a home and that you know where to find them, the easier it is. So this is all about saving those little nuggets of time, but equally, again, reducing those stress levels and just making life that little bit easier, rather than adding to the stresses that are going to come your way. Like, let's not make these things be part of that. Digital, again, is another thing to really think about, because often people focus on the physical stuff. So even when I work with people on paperwork, for example, and they're like, oh, I've got stuff here I haven't dealt for years, I don't really know what I should be keeping or how best to store it, they forget about the digital and then mention, oh, I've got about 15,000 emails, in my inbox that I haven't dealt with. I suppose I should look at those at some point. Like, I avoid going into my inbox because I know what's waiting for me, a bit like we were talking about earlier of, avoiding going into the home because actually, it's that dread of what's there. And these people are then missing important emails because of that dread of, the stuff that hasn't been dealt with. So really think about the physical and digital when you're thinking about how to categorize things and where to find stuff. And again, work with what works for you. So some people for like a digital filing system, like everything that maybe is health related in one folder on their Google Drive or on their laptop. Other people, if you've got a lot of health stuff going on, might want that broken down into, by consultant or by, illness or, by area. It really is what works for you. And again, that's something that we look at of how do you like to access things, and then looking at things like naming conventions for digital files so that, you're doing everything in the same way. So then you know how to find it if for some reason that it's not where you thought it was going to be. Have items you use the most often within easy reach. So again, this can apply to whether you're in the kitchen, in the bathroom at home, or at your desk at work. Like the stuff that you use all the time, you want to just be able to go, oh, I need this, right? I need a pen, or I need a plastic folder, or where's that client file? You want the things that you're interacting with the most to just be like, I can just grab and go, as opposed to, oh, okay, that's in that file there, but I've got to move that box to get into it and then get that out. The same within a kitchen. The dishes or the things that you only use at Christmas, you don't want right in the cupboard, right in front of you. That can go higher up out of the way so that you've got space for, maybe your blender and things for smoothies, or, your latest kind of health approach with for you, so that the stuff that you're using all the time is literally just, it's kind of seamless, as opposed to, again, it's just all these things that suck time out of your day. Focus on what you want to keep. The positive mindset. So again, often when people start to think about getting their time or their home more organized, they think, especially as an organizer, that I'm going to just make them get rid of everything and not do anything and take everything out. And actually, it's the opposite. We focus on what are the things that are important to you. So linked with that, having that vision and how you feel, it's about what do you want to keep in your life. So for your time, for example, it might be, I really just want to have, this time, the time that I have after work with the children, to have some quality time, or time for a date night with my partner. Those are the things that really are important to me. So then we look at where you're spending time on things that don't fall into that bucket of things that you want to keep. Because actually, again, we're tricking our brain into that. We're focusing on the positive, because our brain really doesn't like it when we take things away. It's that, that little child comes out of us of, but I don't want you to take that away. I want this, So actually focusing on that positive mindset, what you want to keep in your life, can really have a really big shift for a lot of people. And the importance of the reset and routine. So the reset, really, especially during kind of COVID times, this was really important when a lot more people started working from home. This was pretty much what I was doing day in, day out, talking about how to get home and time organized. Because actually that reset, so the reset, I guess the best way to explain it is, if you're going to an office, often when you leave the office and get on the train or you're driving home, you're kind of switching off. So during that process, you're going, oh, right, work's over, right, what do I need to do now? And it might be your mind is running at 1,000,000 miles an hour of, I've got to pick the shopping up, or I've got to do this, I've got to get to the gym, or whatever that is. But you're switching off and you're kind of resetting from being at work to then being in kind of home, parent, partner mode, whatever that is. So we look at this in the home, but equally, again, with your time, do you have time to reset from one activity to another? And we use this a lot with children when they're little, when they're in nurseries, we talk about, right, we're going to do, hand painting now or something, then we're going to tidy up, put all of that away, then we're going to have story time. But as we become adults, we think that, we have to be multitasking, which can work well for a lot of people, but actually having that reset, so that if you do work from home, for an example, do you reset your workspace each night so that it's home space again? So that could be as simple as just, closing down your laptop, putting your work files in a box or on a shelf, just so that that's kind of you signaling to your brain, right, that's it, work's over. And it also stops that inclination of, oh, well, I'll just log on to my work emails again and just check, if that's come through. I might just do that for 20 minutes, because that then starts to eat into your personal time. And actually, if we look at that kind of diagram right at the front of looking at the different areas of our life, that's when you start to see kind of, that one area may be, performing really well and making you feel really good, but it's actually impacting on other areas. The last few, and then we'll move on to questions. I can see my camera has stopped, but as long as you can hear me, if you can't hear me, Grace, then obviously let me know. I will continue.
No, we can hear you totally fine, so don't worry
Brilliant.
about it.
Thank you. So know your body clock. So this is a big thing. And again, we're all individuals. We all have different times a day where our energy levels are higher, and use that to your advantage. Like, your body clock is like one of your superpowers. For me, I am definitely like a morning person. If you ask me any involved questions around, 7, 8 o'clock at night, I'm like, no, I'm in wind down mode. Like, the only thing I want to be doing is either chilling out with Netflix or with a really good book. Like, I don't want to be having to do anything where I have to really engage my brain. But in the morning, my brain is like, right, let's go, let's do this. So use your body clock. And again, this can be, if you're trying to tackle organization at home, that can work. But equally, when you're planning your diary and planning your time, then looking at, when do I fit the things in that I know are going to take more time of my kind of brain power or physical energy, and when can I put things in there that fit better in those lower energy moments. And then looking at your goals. So it might be that you're thinking, well, actually, if I'm doing exercise, I know the best thing I can do is get up, set my alarm early, go to the gym or do my run before work, because actually that's when I have my most energy. And then you start to kind of weave that into how you manage your day, planning your week ahead, and really focusing on using that, your own individual body clock, to your advantage rather than it working against you. Start small. Like, we often aim for, like, oh, I've got to change everything. And I often use the analogy of, like, you wouldn't get up one day and decide, I'm going to run a marathon today. You'd possibly think about, I'm going to, walk or jog around the block. Then I'm going to run to the park or around the park. Then I'm going to run maybe a 5K, build it up from there. And it's the same with anything. Like, start small and change one thing at a time. By trying to change too much at once, you're most likely going to fail or not achieve it. And this month is the perfect example. New Year's resolutions. By the end of January, I think, there's varying statistics, but the average is, by the end of January, 64% of New Year's resolutions have already kind of been stopped or not achieved because people have given up on it. And what I often see is that people are trying to change too much at once, or trying to go too big, and that's not realistic with the time or the energy levels that they have. Set a timer. So timers and kind of chunking your time can work really well with helping you be more productive. But equally, if you're trying to tackle something that you really don't want to do, again, we're tricking our brain that I'm only doing this for 15 or 20 minutes, as opposed to, oh, this feels like it's going on forever. And again, if you've got children or you've been around children, you'll see this when you say, why aren't you doing your homework? Or, they'll say, set a timer for your child's homework, so they can visually see how that time is going and how long that they've got. And that works just as well for us as adults. But don't forget the reward. So just like children, actually adding a reward in at the end. So that could be as simple as, I'm going to sit for 5 minutes and have a cup of coffee. That could be, I'm going to call a friend and just feel like I'm connecting with somebody and catch up. Or it could be, I'm going to have a chocolate biscuit, whatever works for you. But really, adding that reward really helps with that motivation. But setting a timer and really breaking things down into chunks can really help you achieve more, but equally be more productive. Make it visual. So things like clear storage so that you can see what's in it, simple labeling. So it could be that you even put pictures on it rather than text, so that you can see at an easy glance kind of what is there or what file is what. Using things like color coding. So for example, in your diary, you could have different colors for things that are home related to work related, or things that have to like you have to action versus perhaps meetings that you're just attending as an attendee and don't have to contribute to. It's all about making it simple. And again, like the color coding can work really well because you're just looking and going, okay, that's blue stuff. So I know that that's children's stuff. I don't have to do anything with that. But the red stuff is stuff that I need to do. Oh, okay, that's due tomorrow. So yeah, color coding, making it visual, making it easy to see. Like we don't want, again, like people often will say things like shoe storage, you know, the children won't put their shoes away or my partner won't put their shoes away. But it's like you have to open a door and pull a drawer out. It's too complicated. We just want to keep life simple. And your memories will always be with you. You won't lose them by letting them go. So, you know, this is more to do with the physical organizing, but equally, you know, maybe looking at photos and things like that, that if you've got 5 shots of the same photo, just keep one. Like you'll still have that memory whether the photo is there or not. But actually, you know, just keeping the stuff that you really need. There are so many more things that I could talk about. This is an example of, you know, looking at your week. And again, you could use color coding here to mark out. So you have like a visual way of seeing what your generic week is. So kind of call this like a generic calendar, that this is something that we'd use with clients to say, right, let's look at where you're spending your time at the moment. We might use color coding as an example to see what, you know, where your time is being taken up. And what we're aiming for is ideally to have some kind of white space left in there. So why work with an organization coach? I think I've tried to get most of it across whilst we've been going through the presentation. You know, it's really about what works for you, helping you achieve your goals and the things that are important to you, but equally feel better. There's just some examples of what people have had to say from the work that I've done with them. We're going to move on to questions in a moment, so we'll cover that. But what I wanted to do, as Grace was saying, is really just extend an offer to everybody that's obviously come along today, that if this is something that you have been sat there thinking, oh my goodness, like I really need to get my time more organized, or I've got these big plans, but I don't seem to ever make progress, or my house is really stressing me out. I'm offering a free discovery call for anybody that's here. So my details are on this slide. I think it went out with the kind of webinar information as well. But again, another statistic for you, that having a regular meeting with an accountability partner increases your chance of success by 95%. So this doesn't have to be with me. Like, find somebody else. Like when you're doing a fitness thing, set up a WhatsApp group, or organizing your home more, like set up a WhatsApp group with a friend, but find an accountability partner that works for you to actually keep you on track, because you're more likely to be successful. Yeah, I work on Zoom across all locations, and I'm Essex based, so if people want in-home support, but you know, reach out. I, as you will have been able to see today, talking about organizing and helping people get more organized is a very big passion of mine. So I'm always willing to have a conversation, like a quick conversation, and talk through any particular challenges. If I stop sharing, Grace, then we can go to questions.
Yes. Are you able to see the questions? I can also read them out loud here. So our first question we have, and also to anyone listening, now is the time to write any questions in the question and answer box. But so our first question is just, what are some quick wins or micro decluttering strategies for people with limited time who want to make a noticeable impact on their space?
Yeah, so I think, as I was saying earlier, definitely kind of starting small, setting a timer. So being really clear about what you want to achieve. Start with the areas that are annoying you the most is definitely a place to start as well. You know, yeah, I think kind of, being really clear about which area or what is it that you're wanting to achieve, what is the end result, how you will feel, set that timer, give yourself that reward at the end of it so that you're going, okay, I'm only doing this for 20 minutes, then I'm going to call my friend or hug the dog or whatever, because the more you have that positive thing to look forward to at the end of it, then the more likely you are going to achieve it.
Yeah, great. And just a more logistical question um, for you and for your services. So, are you open to traveling to London or traveling for work, or like since most of our members are in the London area,
Yep.
um, or do you do like remote sessions with people there, or yeah?
Yeah, so it really depends on what we're doing, I guess, is the
Hmm.
answer to that. The majority of people kind of, if we're talking about kind of productivity and stuff, it tends to be like an hour over Zoom. So it's more focused. But yeah, I mean, I travel to clients again, if we're doing kind of practical organizing, you kind of need more time. Normally the in-home sessions are more likely to be like a few hours, because obviously if you've ever tried to kind of organize your wardrobe even on your own, you'll know that as you start getting things out, like you go, oh my goodness, I've been doing this for an hour and I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. So the best thing to do is really kind of, drop a note, get in contact. Let's have an initial call and we can talk about kind of, the challenges that people have and the best way to tackle that. I have clients that I work in home with, and we do Zoom as well. A lot of the accountability and productivity work is via Zoom sessions because it's easier for people just to fit in kind of around their day and in between meetings, or be able to do it at the office as opposed to kind of needing to be anywhere else. So I think the best thing to do really is to get in touch and let's have a chat, and then we can work out a strategy. Like anything's possible really.
Great. All right. Thanks. And I have a couple other questions in our chat box.
Yep.
So, first one is, what do you suggest when you share an office, one at a time, and your partner needs a lot of visual noise and you need none?
So, like we were talking about earlier, I think it is that communication and compromise. I think it and compromise is like in capital letters, I guess.
Hmm.
I'm really sorry that my camera's not coming back on, but
No worries. I figured I just wouldn't turn mine on
yeah.
either. So it's not
So
just
yeah,
me.
compromise in capital letters, I think, and communication of going like, can you almost like split that into two areas, or like using that reset of going, actually, I know this doesn't impact you, but I feel really stressed when there's this stuff around. So if you're one of you at a time in the office, it's like, can you have like a little box, or like you can use just like a box from Amazon, but like a
Mhm.
storage box would work equally as well. Where you put the stuff that's affecting you in a way that it's easy enough to kind of reset it between the two of you. So it's
Mhm.
then starting to kind of have that kind of conversation of, your partner understanding how that affects you. Because as I said, if your visual noise tolerance is like a 9 or a 10, they're really not going to get why it bothers you. Like, lots of my clients will say, but my husband just like, he's like dismisses me and says like, you're just being,
Mhm.
you know, and it's like, no, but this really does, like, it physically affects me, and like mentally, like as we talked about with the visual noise, like it really does affect me. So I think that communication, but a capital kind of compromise of, you've both got to give and take, and think, like, use that creativity to think of a way that you can do that. So, having like a little drop box of, okay, so the stuff that offends you gets put in a box, and that's your
Mhm.
compromise, that it's to the side but it's not in your face, might be an example of how that could work. What I would do with clients is we'd look at the space physically, so either in person or on Zoom, and then be able to come up with better solutions looking at the actual physical space. But generally it comes down to, when it's a communal space, comes down to that communication and compromise.
And I just a follow-up question I'm thinking from this question. is, you mentioned compromise, and obviously
Yeah.
we know that there are specific people who really can't work in cluttered or
Yep.
a lot of visual noise spaces. Are there people who can't work or struggle to work in places that almost are too organized or neat? Like
Yeah,
when
I mean,
yeah.
absolutely.
Hmm.
Like whichever end of the scale that you're on. So I've had clients that are artists or very creative.
Hmm.
And, when they've contacted me, they've gone, "You're not one of those minimalist people, are you? Like, you're not going to make my house like surgically white and like I'm not allowed anything out because I think that would just that would make me cry." And it's like, whatever end of the scale you're at, the opposite end feels uncomfortable to you. So if you are a very creative or artistic person, and need that like a higher level of visual input around you, putting you in like a hot desking type office space, which is quite clinical and plain, you will find the opposite of what we were talking about with that visual noise of your creativity levels will drop and you'll find it harder to concentrate because that's not your natural environment. So whichever end of the scale you are, that will impact you.
Great. And the last question we have for you is, are there some people you just can't help?
Great question, Stuart. Um, the answer is the people that really don't want the help in the first place, are the people that you can't help. So, again, often people may get in contact and say, well, I keep being told at work that I'm really disorganized, or my wife is really, she's told me that I need a session with you or whatever. And a bit like marriage counseling, if you turn up to marriage counseling and you really don't, or any type of counseling therapy, you don't want to be there, it's not going to work for you. So the same with organizing and productivity. If you're engaged in the process, no matter what challenge you're in, we can make an improvement. Whereas if you're there just because you feel like you should be, it probably isn't going to work for you because you're not truly committed to the process. And it is a process. Even the practical organizing will bring stuff up and can be quite emotional for people sometimes because it will bring up lots of stuff for people that are definitely, for more sensitive people, of why have I got to this situation, or all those things that we were talking about earlier. So yeah, the people that you can't really help are the people that either don't want to be helped or aren't ready to be helped. So I've been contacted by people that like, oh no, I don't think this would make any difference, and then they come back 6 months later when they're ready to make a change. So for me, it's always, that's why I speak to people up front before just starting work with them, is do they actually want to be engaged and be willing to put in their part of the work to the process, because then I know that anything is possible. Whereas actually if they're like, I'm being forced into this, then you're less likely to be able to actually make a change, or definitely make a lasting change.
Great. Yeah, that makes total sense. I think those are all. Or wait, do we have one more question? Yes, we do have one more question. Oh, Stuart's just saying, I definitely want to declutter. It's just I've made deadlines before, but as I gets nearer the time of checking out. Great, thanks for
That's
sharing.
why you need an accountability partner, Stuart. And that, as I say, I'm not here to just go, book my services. That can be anybody that you trust. I think the more you can have somebody that is going to keep you in check, and, a lot of clients say, by booking the session and investing in, paying for that service, as opposed to it being, well, I was going to text my friend and she just says, oh, well, never mind, maybe next week that you'll do it. By investing in somebody that is completely kind of on your side and focused on your success and knows how to help you be successful, that is what can give you that accountability and like, okay, I'm going to commit to this. In the same way that, if you're paying for a personal trainer, you're probably more likely to go to the gym in between sessions, or, do that run in between sessions, because you're paying for that service and you want to be able to achieve it. Whereas if you just sign up for a gym membership, then it might go 3 months before you actually go to the gym, as opposed to having some sort of accountability. But yeah, so accountability, I think, would be kind of the first thing. And then equally, like breaking it down and starting small and giving yourself that chance. Like, I use a lot of analogies around fitness because it helps people understand it, but like building your organizing muscles. So don't go straight to, I'm going to declutter my whole kitchen or my whole bedroom, but can I start with that one drawer or that cupboard in the kitchen that every time I open it in the morning, I almost have, I know there's going to be an avalanche of stuff falling on top of me. Can I start with that one place, achieve some success, and then start to go, well, actually, I did that one drawer. Maybe I'll do this cupboard as well. And you're kind of building your organizing muscles to believe in yourself that you can actually do it, as well as, having some reward or motivation at the end of it as well can really help.
Great. Thank you so much, Louise. I think those are all the questions we have, and I think we ended perfectly on time, literally right on the minute.
As
So
an organizational coach, you can't like overrun. It's just not allowed.
perfect, on brand. Yeah, well, thank you so much. And yeah, as I mentioned to everyone in the beginning, this webinar will be available on demand. And we do have Luisa's contact information on the Zoom, and we can put it also in the recording as well. And yes, so thank you so much, Louise. Feel free if there's anything you need me to send out as well after.
Yeah.
Um, as well,
Yeah,
but
I
we'll
think
have the
just mainly
slides.
the contact details. Thank you for
Mhm.
everybody for taking time out of your day to join us, or those people watching on replay. I think the main thing is the people reason that the big reason that people don't get in contact is that fear of judgment or a feeling of, I should be able to do this. Like, honestly, I love talking about organizing. So even if we just have that initial call, that I'd love to help you, just give you some kind of personal tips to get moving. So please don't feel like, well, I don't know if I can afford or want to book any sessions. Like, let's just have a chat and see what difference we can make in your life.
Thank you so much. That sounds great. All right. Thank you. I think you have to end the webinar. Kind of made you the host.
Okay.
If you see that button. And thank you so much.